out. I appreciate you guys not only for coming out today, but for the entire year. You guys were a lot of fun to work with. I don't see my guy James Ham. I guess he's boycotting me. I don't know. He's going to get fined. Didn't he miss something else? And I got to be careful because he missed something else, and I went at him, and his son went at my neck. He was like, "Hey, don't mess with my dad." So I won't say anything about James, although he should get fined, but we'll leave it at that. No, you guys were great this year, so I want to thank you guys for this year and the time that we spent together so far. But although we're all disappointed that we're not playing right now, there were some good things in terms of our growth that happened this year. I'm proud of our guys. Our guys, they competed, they prepared the right way. They tried to lock in and focus on the details. They continued to try to improve upon our identity, trying to play fast. Obviously, trying to play physical, which really increased, and then playing for each other. This group has been connected from day one, and that connectivity has gone a long way in terms of our growth, and that's a lot of fun to be around. Obviously a few wins here or a few wins there would have had us playing right now, but that's the way the season ebbs and flows. Last year, I think Foxy hit 2 for sure. I think Chicago and maybe Orlando, maybe 3 or 4 buzzer beaters, and he doesn't hit those, and who knows? Maybe we have the same record or we have our worst record. But the growth that our guys have shown this year has been tremendous on both sides of the ball. Defensively, the growth speaks for itself in a lot of areas, especially with us going from, I think, 23 or 25, around there, to 14, 15 this year. With the same group of guys for the most part, with a few injuries, our guys grew a lot on that end of the floor. They embraced it and they took off on that end of the floor. Offensively, I thought our guys were good as well. We finished, I think, 13th, and I'm not an analytics guy, so but you guys can fact check this if you want. But we knew that we knew this year we didn't shoot the ball well from the free throw line, and then even from the 3-point line. There was a drop off, and one of my guys brought up the fact that if we shot the ball at the same rate from the free throw line as we did last year, which wasn't extraordinary, it was more than doable, we would have finished 7th in offensive rating instead of 13th. And so at the end of the day, if somebody says, "Hey, you guys shoot the same rate from the free throw line as you did the previous year, you're going to finish 7th in offensive rating, and you're going to go from wherever we were, 23rd to 14th on the defensive side of the ball," to me, that just shows how hard our guys competed and worked to try to get better, not only individually but collectively as a group. So I thank them for that because they're a lot of fun to be around.
When you talk about what you were haunted by last season, a Game 7 playoff loss and carrying that pain into the offseason, I'm just wondering from your standpoint, what kind of haunts you this time? Obviously, it wasn't a Game 7, exit for you guys, but what do you think back on this that you're going to carry most into the offseason?
Obviously, your last loss is always your toughest loss, in my opinion. To lose to New Orleans, especially when I felt we had pretty good mojo going, we had pretty good opportunity, and I felt we improved in a lot of areas throughout the course of the year. that makes it tough to not have a chance to play in a 7-game series. That makes it tough because when you look at the West and you look at how we competed against the West, anything could have happened. The sky was the limit. I think that's how close these teams were this year when it came to on the court play.
Mike, Jordy got announced as the Brooklyn Nets head coach today. I was wondering, for your staff, do you anticipate anybody moving with Jordy over to Brooklyn, and any plan to replace Jordy? Do you think that will be internally, externally? And then Summer League, if you have any idea who will be the head coach for that as well.
First of all, congratulations to Jordy and the Brooklyn Nets. Fantastic hire. It's pretty neat to see guys that you either got into the league or brought to the front of the bench for the first time, and you see them get an opportunity. And I've had a handful of guys that have been able to do that, so it's really neat. And Jordy's story compared to the other guys is really, really unique. But I'm excited for him and Kelsey and his kids and his family. And I'm excited for the Nets. But my first 2 hires when I got this job were Jordy and Luke Laux. And I told Luke if anybody leaves from the front of the bench, I'd move him to the front. So he's going to go to the front of the bench. I'm not sure, what Jordy's situation is or who he'll try to take at the end of the day. That's to be determined. But he and I are close, and we'll have conversations about that as time goes on. What else? I'm leaning towards Doug. I think it'd be great for him to get that experience and to see what it's like to, make decisions on the fly and put a practice plan, to be in charge of putting a practice plan together and connecting a staff as well as a team and all the other ins and outs that come along with coaching a summer league team. So I think he might be the only one that, because Luke's done it before. Jay obviously has done it, and he's been a head coach at a lot of different levels before. I think Doug may be the only one that hasn't been in that position yet.
Coach Brown, I do want to go back, talking about the course of the season. There were some bad losses to considerably some bad teams, the Charlottes and the Detroits and the Portland. I just want to know how you view that, when you look back on the season, and not to let that happen going into the next season when those games probably could have determined a playoff spot as well.
The first thing I say, Tony, it's hard for me, and not that it's wrong. I think everybody has their opinion, but it's hard for me to think that we're going to beat every team that's not a playoff team. We're not going to go 16-0 versus Detroit, Charlotte, or those types of teams. It's hard to do. The last year that I was in Golden State and we won a championship, we had a pretty good team. And Indiana came into Golden State, and I couldn't even tell you who the guys were that were on their roster. They were missing so many guys, and they smacked us. So it's going to happen. Obviously, we don't want to lose to anybody. You hope that it doesn't happen too often, just like you hope that if you're up 15 or 20, you don't lose games like that too often. But it's going to happen. You've seen it in the playoffs. We've done it to other teams. We did it to Golden State. I think we did it to the Lakers. We did it to a handful of teams. So the ebb and flow of the season is going to bring different things. And, at the end of the day, each game is its own entity. And I don't know if there's one thing I can sit here and tell you now that will encompass all those situations that you're talking about to where next year it's not going to happen. I think there are some games where We lost because we didn't do a good job defending this person or these types of actions, or didn't get back in transition, or we didn't shoot the ball well, or we didn't shoot the ball well from the free throw line. So I think each situation is different. The thing that I take away from it, and I've said this consistently, is, going through situations like that, that's a type of adversity because you went through it. The outcome wasn't what you wanted. It disappointed you. You felt the hurt. But the neat part about it, if there is a neat part, at least I feel there's a neat part, is you experienced it, and it helped with your growth. And so I think going through those types of situations and feeling the hurt afterwards, and reflecting right after the game ended on what you did right and what you did wrong, will help us going forward. Obviously this summer, just like I know our guys, it's a big summer for all of our guys. It's a big summer for us as a staff. We're going to go back and we're going to watch, if not all the games, at least most of the games. And we'll reevaluate everything that we went through from the beginning to the end. But there's not a common theme that I can sit here and say is the answer to us doing, losing games to the teams that you mentioned. And that common answer would be the answer to where it won't happen next year. I hope I'm making sense. So, all right.
Hey, Mike, going back to the defense a little bit, we saw a noticeable improvement really from the All-Star break onward. I think you also mentioned during that time that you typically see officiating start to change a little bit. They allow a little more physicality as we ramp up towards the playoffs. That plus, I suppose, a player's willingness to put in that effort down the stretch. My question is, how sustainable over the course of a full season do you think the way you were playing defense was, to where you can expect that in the November, December, January months of the season as well as the end of the year?
Well, I truly believe we're on track to have a winning culture here that is sustainable. I like our group. I like our competitiveness of the group. I like the togetherness of the group. I like the hunger of the group to want to be better. I like, when we lose, you could tell it bothers guys because, we all been in situations where when you lose, whatever your walk in life is, sometimes it doesn't bother guys or doesn't faze people, and it bothers our guys, and to me, that's going to help them grow. So, having said that, what was the last part of your? Yeah. So, having said that, I really believe our guys will lock in on the things that they need to do to get better this summer, knowing how hard it is going to be overall just to be able to compete and get to where we want to go. And I truly felt that they feel that, or they felt how much needed it was for us to be better defensively. And so that carryover with the guys that we have in the locker room, I can see it being here because of what I just said. It's going to have to be in order for us to be better. There's no other way. Now, does that mean we're going to come out of the gate being a top 5 defensive team or a top 10 defensive team? I don't know. But all of our guys from top to bottom know that we won games, especially down the stretch, not just from our scoring and our shooting, because we didn't always have control over that, but that we won games also from the defensive side of the ball. And the good teams, in my opinion, you'll see as the playoffs go on, they'll show on that end of the floor more than offensively. I mean, you're seeing it a little bit now. How many games have been won in these playoffs 92 to 87, and it's hard, but that's the side of the ball you have the most control over.
Mike, you mentioned that you're early in the evaluation process and everything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's
Go
okay.
ahead, yeah.
I'm easily forgettable. But you mentioned you're early in the evaluation process and you have some decisions to make with some guys like Malik and everything. But are you okay with what your grasp is of the roster? Are you okay running it back with the same roster next year, or do you feel there's a need to upgrade in some way?
Yeah, every year, I think teams change. Sometimes you change a little bit more than others, and I think taking a step away from the season, taking some time away from the season, and then circling up with Monte and Wes, because they'll lead the charge in that area, but circling up with those guys, and which they're already doing, by the way, but and trying to put a game plan together, I think is going to be big. I absolutely love everybody in that locker room. We all do. They competed their tails off. We could have, in my opinion, we could have easily won 50 games this year, 52 games this year, even with the injuries. But at the end of the day, just like us losing Jordy and me moving Luke to the front of the bench and me having to figure out the rest of the staff, change is going to happen, and it's just a matter of what we feel at the time that we start doing it.
Coach, when you got this job, you mentioned the importance of creating a culture.
Yeah.
And at this point now, 2 years have passed. How successful do you think that has been, and how do you maintain and improve upon that?
I think we all have been a part in creating a winning culture here. Martina and her group have been phenomenal. Monte and his group, they've been phenomenal. The players have been phenomenal, and it takes everybody to kind of buy in and do their part to get it to where you're feeling pretty good about it. I also feel that it's definitely sustainable. But, when you do talk about culture, it's usually extremely hard to build, but it can go away quickly if you don't work at it every day. And I truly believe that our guys, that Martina and her group, that Monte and his group, and everybody else works extremely hard at trying to have the best environment here that's sustainable for a long time, and that's what excites me about this place.
Coach, you've touched on previously, you've touched previously on how this team is always being connected and staying connected, and especially in a season like this that had some adversity. Just kind of assess why do you think this group was so connected in the way it was, and how important do you think going forward is it that this team is connected on every front you can possibly think of?
Yeah, I feel the group is connected. It usually starts with your guys, and Tomas and Foxy. You could throw HB in and Malik and excuse me, and a couple other guys. They do a good job of trying to keep the group together. Obviously, our staff too. Our medical team is one of the best in the business, if not the best. Our performance team, in my opinion, is the same. Those guys work their tails off, and they don't get enough credit for what they do, but they help in that area as well. And so when you have the type of people around you that we have, it makes my job easy. It makes Martina's job easy and Monte's job easy to just kind of keep the again, like I said, that's what excites me most about this, is the people we have here and in the direction that we're heading.
Hey, Mike.
Okay.
When you look at the offense this year, and I guess going back to the playoffs last year, kind of what Golden State did, and I assume that teams make adjustments over time and try to take things away. What kind of things are you guys going to look at in terms of changes there? What do you want to keep the same, and what do you think you might be able to change and kind of fine tune going forward?
It's a little early to really give you exact answers, because like I said, we're going to take the summer to evaluate a lot of stuff, but the one thing that slipped a little bit was our pace. I think we were 5th last year, and we dropped to 9th, and one of the things that we're thinking about that may be able to help is, on makes we do this, on misses we do that, so that gives the guys a little bit better direction of, what needs to happen right now. I also felt that last year we got to the corners, which flattened out the defense a little bit quicker. We were okay doing it, but we didn't run as hard off the ball this year as we did last year. And then, part of this process, this growth process, is you got to give guys a little bit more freedom to see what they can bring to the table. And we shot more mid-ranges and more difficult threes this year. But, we have guys that are capable of doing it, and they're going to have to do it in order for us to have some success. So, our shot selection wasn't great, which wasn't great in terms of what it was last year, which is why the numbers were really good last year. But the guys that took those shots, Keegan, Malik, those guys are going to have to take those shots, and they're going to have to make those shots for us. So I'm 100% okay with them doing it. We just have to make sure that we're better in other areas. And then, like I said, Jay, if we just shot the same rate we did from the free throw line last year as we did this year, we jumped 6 spots from 13 to 7. And to me, if you can finish in the top 5, that's great, especially back-to-back years. If you finish in the top 10, I can definitely live with that, knowing that there's room to improve. And our guys will work their tails off this summer, because, like I said, it's a big summer for everybody to improve individually, which will mean we'll improve collectively.
Coach, the athletic report on your contract situation, you got a mutual option after year 3. I'm curious, do you anticipate having some conversations about a possible extension this summer? And how much of this is top of mind for you at this point?
It's not really. At the end of the day, I have 1 year left on my deal. Everybody knows that. But I'm excited about being here. I'm excited about our future, and so I'm going to go into this summer trying to figure out how we can be better next year, and then next year trying to attack it, because again, we're disappointed we're not playing, and we feel like we left some things on the table.
That disappointment obviously shared by some of the players, and I imagine the fan base as well. If you're speaking directly to the fans, what do you say to them in terms of, where you guys need to, the sense of urgency, I guess, to improve, or do you feel, that you just kind of give them a little bit of a calm down kind of, sense?
No, I mean, our fans are great. I absolutely love our fans. I mean, even when I wasn't here, I thought the fans were great, especially, for what they had gone through for so long. So that's what makes this game fun. It's what makes it exciting. That's what keeps you on edge all the time is trying to do well, not only for yourself and for the organization, but for them too. So they pay their hard-earned money to come watch us and support us and buy the gear and and all that other stuff, and they talk more positive about us than negative, and so there's no way that I would try to tell them to do anything but continue to use us as an outlet to enjoy life however they want to, as long as obviously they don't go overboard. I mean, none of us want any of that. And then obviously if we're up 3 and there's a minute and a half to go in the game and we're shooting a free throw, don't start yelling, light the beam then. Wait a little longer. It's probably the one thing I tell them.
Mike, you've talked a lot this year about the strength of the Western Conference. From the outside of the organization perspective, you see the massive jumps for a Minnesota.
Sorry, say it again.
From the outside the organization perspective, you see the massive jumps for the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I think outside the organization, there's like a pressure of being passed up or falling behind. Does that pressure exist, I guess, internally? And if not, how do you separate yourself from the pressure of what other teams around you are doing?
Well, I mean, it's what our business is about. I don't know, and there probably is, but I feel like just like each player probably puts a tremendous amount of pressure on themselves because you want to win. You want to win at the highest level, and so. So for me, I'm okay with the pressure or expectations because that comes along with the job, and you kind of welcome that because, again, I think pressure is a privilege. If you don't have pressure on you, that means you're probably insignificant, or what you're doing doesn't matter to you or to anybody else, and so. I feel like I embrace it. Everybody else that is part of our organization embraces it. We want it. We want to be in that position. But the reality of it is, Maddie, that it doesn't. Things in life don't do this. Again, I've been not just with Golden State, even San Antonio and Cleveland and other organizations that I've been a part of NBA Finals. Our climb wasn't like this. It was here, and then you take a step back, and then hopefully you take 3 or 4 forward, and then you take 1, maybe 1.5 back, maybe 2. But so it's part of the growth process that you need to be able to go through in order to attain that championship level that you're seeking. So. Again, I'm 100% okay with any type of pressure that comes our way, and I truly feel our players are too. This is, and I've said this before, this is probably the first time that most of them have been in the roles that they're in and experienced the expectations and pressure that comes along with being in those roles after being a playoff team last year. So I think it was a huge growth year in that department. But, I don't think anybody can put more pressure on trying to win than we put on ourselves. Thank you, guys. You got one more? Okay. No, first of all, we love Malik. Everybody knows that. I truly believe Malik loves it here. The fans have done a fantastic job of showing him love, and I think he really, really, really appreciates that. And he's got a great soul, and he's about as charismatic as they come. So. In terms of him being back, that's a no-brainer. But obviously, that I don't have, you don't, I don't, that's going to have to take care of itself. And I truly believe we're all on the same page with that. Having Malik and even Kevin, they were big for us. But at the end of the day, I believed in the guys that we had in uniform. And again, it's kind of been a staple of ours. We didn't have to see it much last year because we didn't have many injuries. But this year, you always talk about next man up, and we had some guys step into some roles this year that got it done. And, I was even curious as to whether or not they can handle the pressure and get it done. And the first one that comes to mind is young Keon. Young Keon started against Portland and helped us get a win, and then he turns around and starts against Oklahoma City without Foxy and helps us get a win. So having that next man up mindset and truly believing in it is a big thing going forward. And having some success with it only helps with the belief. So no brainer to have Malik back. Malik, you hear me? But at the end of the day, we're all on the same page here in the organization. But that will take care of itself. And like I said, having Kevin or Malik would have been great, but they were hurt, and guys stepped up, and I'm proud of the way everybody stepped up, even though we're disappointed in how it ended. Thank you, guys.
All right, we good? All right. If James showed up for this one and not Mike's, that would have been awesome, but I guess not here. Anyway, thank you guys all for joining us. Obviously wish we were preparing for game 2 in OKC instead of here today, but we've talked about our goal. Step 1, get into the playoffs, which we did last year. But step 2, stay there and advance. And obviously we're disappointed that this year we didn't continue that goal. So while the year didn't end as we hoped, I do think a lot of bright spots. De'Aaron and Domas career years in a lot of ways. De'Aaron with leading the league in steals. I believe he had his most points per game. And Domas obviously with his double-doubles, triple-doubles throughout the year. Keegan strides on both ends in year 2. Keon, when we had some injuries down the stretch, really showing up big for us. And so a lot to build on. I think looking forward, we're excited. I'm excited. Disappointed we didn't make the playoffs, but we do get a lottery pick in addition to, I think, a good base of assets and flexibility to go and improve this team and get back to the playoffs where we want to be. So happy to take questions.
Monty, when Mike got the job, he talked about the importance of building a culture. And from your perspective, how do you think that you guys as a group have done in cultivating that? And just what's your evaluation on the time that he's had in this role?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is what we've seen, especially the last couple of years, guys wanting to be here in Sacramento, wanting to be a part of what we're doing here, guys coming here wanting to stay, guys from elsewhere wanting to come and join. And, Coach Brown, his staff, our players, all deserve a ton of credit for that. And obviously, winning helps. Well, I think you guys got to talk to Malik yesterday, and he had some great comments. I think the fans, the love they have for him, that's reciprocated. We love Malik. He's obviously been a huge part of what we've done the last couple of years. Sadly missed him at some key points down the stretch. We could have used Malik, but and not just what he does on the floor, but off the floor, his attitude and mentality, and obviously his swag and everything that Malik brings. So, obviously we'll have those conversations when the time comes, but what he's done for us has been a huge part of our resurgence the last 2 years.
Monty, do you kind of have a feeling of how that might play out already? Like, do you have like a confidence to you in knowing that what you guys can do?
Yeah, I think for us, I won't get any of those specifics, but credit to Malik. He gets to make a free agent decision. It's I think we'll put our best foot forward. We he loves it here, we love him, and so hopefully we'll be able to do that when the time comes.
And just following up on that, having every time you're here in this city, you've been in this position, everyone says how important the offseason is. It seems like it's always important, right? Do you feel like any heightened sense of urgency this year based on, even though it's only a 2-game in the wins-loss column, I mean, it's still rather, similar to what you guys have experienced. Do you feel like there's any heightened sense of urgency based on previous seasons now that you have so much of a sample size to you guys?
I think I would say we always feel urgency, especially with in this league. Windows don't last forever, but certainly another year. I think we've seen a lot of what we can build on, a lot of success. We know a lot of the guys and what they can do for us. Whether it's play-in, playoffs, big games. So I think at the same time, we're well positioned to take advantage of that and figure out ways that we can improve the team. We'll have to look, obviously, internally, like we always do, and then externally through draft, free agency, trade. I think in all three of those, we have abilities to improve the team as well.
Monty, though you obviously just alluded to how this season kind of the end result was kind of disappointing for you guys in the short term. When you look at this team from a long-term perspective, how do you kind of view this season from that point of view, just with the context knowing that you, from a long-term point of view, you want to eventually be contending for championships?
I think if you look at this from a 2-year horizon, I'm proud of what this team accomplished. So, 94 wins over 2 years. I think us and Denver, the only two teams in the West that won 46, both of the last 2 years. We broke the playoff drought. A lot to be positive on. And at the same time, those expectations got raised last year. We knew they were coming for us, and that's a great thing. I mean, it's a great thing for our organization. I'm not as eloquent as Coach Brown, but I think he said pressure is a privilege, right? And that's fantastic. I love that 46 wins and beating Golden State in the play-in is not good enough anymore, and that's true.
Monty, over here. Number 13th overall pick officially. Do you guys have a plan for that position right now in terms of, is that something where you might trade it? Do you anticipate picking someone there? And if so, where do you think that pick could go to?
Yeah, I think credit to our scouting group. They've already been on all this throughout the years. They always are. So myself, Wes, our executive group, we're starting to dive in a little more. And I think we're excited about, where that pick is. I try not to get into all the how good is this draft stuff because I think we're not very good at always predicting those. But even then, I think once you get past the top 5 or so of a draft, these things are, usually even out year to year. So, we're excited so far about what we'll see at 13. At the same time, could it be used in trade to improve the team? Of course. So, we'll have to look at all those things, weigh those options. I do think one of the silver linings here is, a lottery pick that we can use in one way or another to improve the team.
Hey, Monty. Mike was asked about his contract situation. There's been some reporting on that. Is that, just what's your assessment of the job, that he's done here thus far? And what would your recommendation be to ownership at this stage?
Yeah, I think, as I talked about, you look at a 2-year horizon here, which is when Coach Brown and his staff came in, and a lot of positives. We're certainly disappointed this year. Mike and I will sit down and try to figure out how we get back to where we want to get to. We'll have all those conversations here starting soon.
Monty, the West this year is pretty extreme in terms of just the amount of talent overall. There's not necessarily a roadmap to look to if teams are going to stay that good or if some are going to drop off a little bit. You can't really predict that. I'm just curious, when you look at the Western Conference, the competitiveness of the Western Conference, how much pressure do you feel to make moves immediately to try and compete with that right away versus staying put, staying patient, and believing in the growth, kind of similar to like a Denver Nuggets of a few years ago?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been in the West now, I think 18 seasons, and it feels like it's almost always like this. So, I think last year, for really, a cornucopia of reasons, we were able to get to the 3 seed, win 48. We were rather healthy. That middle part of the West was more centered around 44 to 46, and we were able to come out on top. Some career years from guys, and this year, we saw that the depth of that 46 would have been the 4 seed last year. And this year we had 2 teams facing off in the 9-10 game with 46 wins. So, but that's what the West is, and that's what we're competing against. And I think you got 10 teams that were really darn good this year, and then you got, 5 teams that have a lot of promise coming for us. So it's not something where you can, in the West, where you can bide your time and just wait it out forever. those 5 teams down there are coming sooner or later as well. So I think for us, it's balancing those two things. We do have a rather young group, but we're not so young that our horizon is 5-6 years in the future. Like, we're ready to win now. We've clearly done that at some level the last 2 years, and we got 2 guys who were all-stars, all-NBA guys last year. I would argue had even better years this year, and we had a lot of positives around them. But those guys are right smack in their prime, and so we're built to win now, and we're going to figure out ways to improve the team internally or externally, however we can.
What's up, Monty? Just 2 quick ones. On the Malik front, you do have a cap on obviously what you guys can spend on him. Does that make your side of the negotiations simple, or is it about fit and role and all that? Like, how do you kind of view that?
Yeah, I won't get into like the obviously the cap and numbers part of it. I think the great thing, number one thing you want is that you want that player to be here, and Malik wants to be here. Number 2 is we want him, and we love Malik, and we know he fits, right? He fits what we're doing. I don't know if the 6th man's been finalized yet. He should win 6th man of the year pretty clearly. I don't know. You guys all get to vote for that, so you guys can tell me. But what he does for us, obviously on the court, fantastic. But really, I think the off-court stuff is what makes him even more special for this group. And so I think for Malik, credit to him. He gets to make a decision, and we'll hope it's here.
I believe that award is announced tonight, by the way. But on the first-round pick front, how do you view the balance? You sound excited to get the pick, but also obviously then it now sends that one to Atlanta next year, top 12 protected. How do you view kind of the balance there and the step-in rule and just kind of the impact of that?
Yeah, I think there's been some reporting out there about, what it does to our pick packages and things, but we have a lottery pick. We only owe 1 pick in the future, and so we'll have plenty of pick power, I think, to go and do whatever we want. And again, there's 2 ways to do those. You pick them, and I think credit to Phil Jabor and our staff. We've done, I think, pretty well in the draft certain years, and you can trade those, and we've done that as well. The Kevin Huerter trade in particular. So I think we'll have opportunity there, and. Look, at any time you get to pick inside the top 15, you got a chance to get a pretty darn good player. And so it's certainly I wish that pick was going to Atlanta when I was trying to figure out how to stop the Thunder right now, but we'll use it to our advantage.
Monty, it was a few seasons back, I think after the second COVID year, you came out, you expressed a little disappointment about the defense, but it seemed like, compared to last year, the offense was incredible. But the defense this season has really improved, and Mike and his coaching staff have been working really hard, to shore up that area. Just want to get your thoughts on, how the defense is progressing, and if you see anything else that, can improve it as well.
Yeah, I think it was obviously good to see the improvement there, and I think we got right around average this year, which is certainly a huge jump from where we were when I started. And I think for us, whatever we can do that translates to wins, and like we talked about, 46 wins is generally a pretty good year. It's not good enough in the West, and it may not be good enough going forward. So whether that's further improvement from our defense, getting our offense back to where it was, I think we lost about a point and a half off our net rating, and we dropped 2 wins. So we got to figure out how to not just get those back, but then more. But that's one step in the right direction, and we're going to continue to have to figure out ways to tick those numbers upwards.
Monty, you guys had a pretty healthy sample size with this group, and as you approach the offseason, what are maybe some priorities for you in terms of the roster, like what specific needs that you think to get to the point where you can get back and exceed the win total of a couple of years ago?
I think certainly we have to figure out internally. We blew some leads, lost some games that we wish we could have won. Try to shore those up. I know Mike touched on that. Continued internal development. I'll point to, Keegan's defense this year from start to finish was a huge jump for a second-year player. Keon Ellis, I think, is a great success story for our, from identifying him as an undrafted player. Great development and success in the G League last year, and then biding his time and stepping in when injuries hit. We just need more and more of those internal success stories, and then we'll look externally. Like I said, we have the 13th pick in the draft and probably 45 in the second. I think we have a lot of flexibility with our tools. You can trade into the MLE and BAE now, the biannual. So that's another thing you can do. And then, we'll have to look at, potential trade opportunities to build there. But I think, we're excited about how we're positioned going forward. Obviously disappointed with where it ended, but I think we'll be able to get to where we need to. And, our group's already boots on the ground working hard.
Monty, I guess to piggyback off of that last question, Mike Brown has said several times that it's not that hard to go from bad to good, but it's hard to go from good to great. Obviously, with the historic season that you guys had last year, and with the raised level of expectation going into this year, in your eyes, why do you feel it is so difficult to get to being great? And what do you think, in your, through your perspective, you've been in the league a long time, what do you think the Kings have to do in order to achieve greatness?
Well, I don't know if Mike said not that hard. It's hard to win in this league. It's hard to get to the playoffs in this league. But then it's a little bit of math question. There's 8 first-round spots in the West, and then there's 4 second-round and 2 conference finals, and everybody's going for that. And I think especially it's great for the league, the play-in and all those different things, the in-season tournament. Teams are trying to win. A lot of teams in the league, up and down, if you count them, that's the large majority of the league is trying to win. So, it just means that, there's fewer spots. It's going to be harder. At the same time, last year, maybe we snuck up on people a bit. This year, we certainly didn't. You win 48, you're the 3 seed. You take the defending champs to Game 7, people are going to be ready for you. We're just going to have to continue to fight there. And then, lastly, the West is what it is. There's the year in, year out, there's going to be great teams there. So we're going to have to put our best foot forward. We're going to have to get better to crack into, our goal, get into the top 6 first and foremost. So we lock that in, and then, pursue top 4 to get home court. And then, our hope is that we're at some point hosting second round and conference finals here. So, but those spots are coveted. Everybody's going for them, and certainly not easy.
Monty, we were talking to De'Aaron a little bit on Monday about just the consistency that he's had the last couple of years with your front office and Mike, obviously, because he's been here through a lot of turnover. How do you balance the need in the West specifically to improve the team, but also keeping the consistency of the core intact, not blowing things up and things like that? How do you balance those two things?
Yeah, it's always a balance, and we're always weighing those things. What does this do for us now versus what will we be able to do in the future? I think in the league there's always going to be movement, shakeup. At the same time, there's also a benefit to guys that have been able to play together, that show they fit together. We talked about it. A lot of, I think, the improvement in year 2 defensively is we had a lot of the guys coming back in the same system under Coach Brown and Jordy. Congratulations to Jordy. Brooklyn got a good one, but I think a lot of those things are benefits as well. And it's a credit to De'Aaron and Domas and that they lead those guys. That they can go and put their best foot forward there. So. I think we're always balancing those things. It's not easy. If it was, then, it would just be the answer. But really, that's a lot of that we talk about in those rooms.
Monty, you guys have been really patient as a front office and as a team in general in terms of making moves. You brought back those core guys from last year. Do you anticipate keeping that core together? I know when I say core, I mean more than just Domas, De'Aaron, and Keegan. I'm talking Kevin, HB, Davion, or is that... Or is it that the untouchables just De'Aaron, Keegan, and Domas right now?
I would point to, I think for our group, we've shown, when the time comes that the opportunities there, we'll be aggressive. We've done it. And so, we're certainly, it's not something where, we said, oh, we had success. Let's just roll it out. We're not sitting on our hands. We're out there looking at all the opportunities. Obviously, in the last couple go rounds, we've generally not made a bigger move. But we've been in some conversations. We always will. We have to find out what's out there. And we got another opportunity, this summer. We got, like I said, draft pick in the lottery. A lot of flexibility. I think, look, we have a lot of players that have contributed to winning. And, I think the league sees that. Brooklyn just wanted to come in and, take our number one assistant because of what Mike and the players have done here. So, we got to always evaluate those things. And, it's, for us, I think it's putting ourselves in a position that we can take advantage of those opportunities when they come. And I think we're in position to do that this summer.
Monte, building off a lot of what you just said there, most of us, especially me, ignorant to the conversations that were happening during the trade deadline, for example, but you see the jump and how different the Dallas Mavericks looked after the trade deadline and other teams, not just in the West, but around the league did. Is there any regret or remorse to staying put or not making any moves on the deadline, considering how the season ended? Or are you able to kind of separate yourself from what other teams do and just focus on you?
Yeah, we focus on ourselves, and I think one benefit we'll have on those teams going forward is probably more flexibility, more draft assets, and how can we put those best to use. At the same time last year, we were able to, stay healthy post deadline and make a run, and who knows if Kevin Balik, are able to Trey as well, was down for a while. If those guys stay healthy, maybe we get another couple wins and we're in a better position. But yeah, no, look, every move won't always work out. I love the process that our group goes through. And I think, it was funny. I was talking to my 5-year-old, he's playing baseball and he got upset when he got out. I said, what the best baseball players, they only make it 3 out of 10 times. And right. All of these things, all these, batting averages, all these decisions, we're not going to bat 1,000, but we want to just put ourselves in the best spot that we can make the next move that we need to do, the right move, and all those types of things. So, no regret. Excited for where we are going forward because I think we'll have a lot of opportunity. Thanks, guys.